Maksims from Accenture in Riga.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, about automated, well, also some sort of automated testing, but in a more
that's
well,
the first
advanced way.
misunderstanding.
But please, round of applause for Maksims.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Max. I will tell you more about the robotics process automation, but I guess I will start with the question, how much of you have heard about it? Or about artificial intelligence and all the new stuff? Great. That's always the reaction, that artificial intelligence everyone knows and RPA not. So yeah, I will start initially about myself. So I'm from Riga, from Accenture, Latvia. I'm working there for 2.5 years and doing robotics almost 2 years already. So we were the first who started RPA in Nordics. So basically, my team right now is 25 people that we are working on the RPA and delivering to the clients. And right now it's, for me specifically, it's 10 projects that I have been working in. But in total, it's around like 25 projects around all different industries, including CMT, FS, resources, and all others. So basically, I would say it's one of the really hot topics on the market right now. And yeah, basically, I will tell why. So basically, if we are talking about the, I would say, the full scope, let's call robotics the same as artificial intelligence. So we have the 4 categories on the slide. Hope everyone could see it. So basically, we are usually dividing that on the 2 categories, on the rule-based automation and the automation that can basically learn. So it's more like basic plus advanced. So if we talk from the, I would say, start from the left side, from the integrated desktop approach. So this is, I would say, the simplest automation you can get. So it's a macro type automation that usually everyone have for the specific purpose. And they basically automate one of the applications. That's it. Then we have the process automation. Here, in I would say in a couple of words, it's an automation of the business processes that basically you can define the rules how you're working on. So basically, if employee can define what rules they're focusing, why they're making so decisions, why they're making this kind of decisions, then we can basically automate them. So typically about the process automation, we are saying that robots are doing what people just don't want to do. So automating repeated boring stuff that people just don't want to do, because in daily work there's a lot of things that we are just don't need to do. In comparison, for example, with the factory where we are building the cars for long years, we are already not doing that manually. So robots are already doing that. Why don't we have the same in the IT? Why don't we have the same for the people that working in the customer service and HRs in all different departments, even like IT maintenance tasks? Why don't we do that manually? So here's the solution for the process automation. But let me just introduce you for the things that are, I would say, coming right now already. So the process automation already here for, as I said, 2 years that we are doing that, but the real explosion was 1 year ago. And the cognitive robotics is coming. So just to define, I would say 2 categories. How much of you have seen what is Amelia, and have anyone heard about it? No? One person from Accenture. Great. Yeah. So Amelia is not our IPsoft software that basically able to talk with the people. So it's a software that able to communicate, understand what person is saying. It's able to answer on the question. It's able to resolve a problem, and basically it speaks more than like 20 languages. And basically, after some time, it's able to learn. Which means that if you use it in the customer service, in the first line support, after some time it can upskill herself to actually answer all the questions and help people to resolve the problem. And then we have the IBM Watson. It's a bit different automation approach. It's a tool that allows to analyze huge amount of data and basically provide an answer. So the difference between 2 techniques, both of them actually can learn. So there's both of them have the machine learning type, so they are basically able to learn and upskill itself. But the difference is that Amelia is the tool that actually people can do. So basically it's the same task that people are doing, but IBM Watson is doing what most of the people just can't do, because it's huge amount of data analyzed in a minutes and providing the result. So that's the difference. But if we are talking about the process automation, on the slide we have 4 tools, I would say RPA leaders on the market that are usually our clients to asking to use. And I will introduce you more about the first tool. From my point of view, it's a leader on the RPA market, and this is what we are betting right now in our team. So basically, if we are talking about the Blue Prism and talking about the RPA tools in general, there's a huge list, I would say, of benefits and what they can do. So on the slide on the bottom, we can see the, I would say, list of the applications that we're able to work. So basically, tool itself is able to replicate all the steps that people are doing. So basically, using the user interface and repeating all the steps all over the multiple applications. So here, I would say one of the first benefit that is not on the slide, but I would say it's really important that people just don't need to do that work anymore. We can basically assign people on more valuable tasks because we just don't need to do the repeated things. And then we have, I would say, multiple benefits. I will just pass it quickly through all of them. So basically, the first of them is that we're removing the human errors. So if there's people that are working on the same process and moving the data between systems, there's a potential to make a mistake. So here, for this point, we have basically automation that have the consistent quality, that able to produce the results all the time the same good, and basically everyone will have, basically customer will receive the same results all the time. Then we're reducing I would say the average process speed. So in average it's 40%. In reality, usually it is up to 95% faster process is running, which means that robots are able to do the same stuff our people are doing on the PC, but 95% faster, repeating using the same user interface. So then one of the, I would say, key here is, of course, process-related costs are reduced because we are reassigning people and they just don't need to do that. But here is one of the things that hard to measure. I would say 45% is ability to focus on the customer. Here I will just give an example of the customer service, that in case if you as a customer lost your bank card, so what you are doing, you're calling to the agent on the phone. So at the beginning you have a lovely music to wait on the queue while agents are available. As soon as agent is available, you are describing the problem, passing all the notifications and whatever, describing the problem, and then agent goes to the multiple systems and blocks your card. So this passes around 15 minutes to do that. So while he is blocking that, someone else is calling the phone and he's in the queue. So what we are doing, if we are automating the part that they are going to the system, blocking the cards, and they just need to click one button, then you as a customer receive the answer a lot faster on the phone, so you don't need to actually to wait on the queue. So plus, if we are seeing that the automation is running faster, so which means that your card will be blocked faster. And if you lost a card, it's quite, I would say, important to get it blocked as soon as possible. So, and basically one of the, I would say, or multiple advantages of this, that you're just using the process automation, it gives you a lot more focus on the customer because people just can do a lot more different things that are customer related things. Then of course the automation is able to run 24/7, and it's a typical improvement. I would say that if you're running the same process as automation, then we basically could do that in the weekends or in the night. So multiple processes that are usually are running during working days, we are running that during the night. And yeah, of course, payback time between 3 months. And one of the last things that I want to mention here, that process, I would say, elements are becoming reusable, which means that typically, if we are talking about the process automation, we are receiving the results in 3-4 weeks. So basically, we can automate the full process that human is doing daily in 4 weeks, which means that if you compare that, for example, with the IT solution, that changing the system instead of using the existing system, that it could take months or even years to basically rebuild the process. Here, we're just using the same systems. And the positive thing here with the reusability, that means that once you have built for the same systems automation, then you can just basically copy paste it, which means that if your first process has been automated in 3-4 weeks, the next one could be automated in 3 days. So that's the typical, I would say, approach, and this is one of the, I would say, difference between test automations and process automation. So here I have on the slide a small example on how it's actually running. So this is example based on the Blue Prism tool, and yeah, just at the beginning to make a pause, our code looks like this. So this is the actual solution that tool is producing, and this is what we are working for. So basically we are building the Visio type workflows, but every step is actually doing something. So here is one of the approaches, of course, how we can automate that, but I would say this is one of the key that I would say every person with IT or without IT background could understand what's happening there. So here on the video we have an example of the process where we need to fill in the Salesforce application. So on the screen we can see that what it is doing on the chart, how it follows the instructions, follows the different rules, what it needs to do, and basically what it's doing in the system. So repeating the same steps, logging into the systems, and then using the same credentials, using the different approaches that people basically are using for filling the information into the Salesforce application. We are repeating that. The difference, as I said, it's a lot faster, and we have the consistent quality on entering the information in the system and receiving the results. Yeah, so at the end it will produce some results, like an Excel results, to show what has been processed. So basically it creates like a report type where it shows what has been processed. So here we can see that like 3 tasks has been processed and what are the results. And here will be a small example of the stats on how the actual results looked. So basically the process before has been running by 10 people, and now we have the 2 maintenance guys that are doing the process automation there, and those people are reassigned on more customer related tasks. So this is the real example of one of the customers. Yeah. So I have a slide on just an examples on what can be actually automated, basically on the process automation, what kind of processes are suitable. So here I would say usually most of the process can be automated, that daily agents or finance departments or HR departments, IT departments are daily having that. So here I have listed some of the process that we actually already automated in multiple clients. So it's something like adding the customer service information, adding the different, I would say, processing order, adding all the invoices, generating an invoice for the customers based on the phone call, and basically updating I would say information in the multiple systems based on the CRM inputs, and all different, I would say, kind of this process. Of course, all different I would say management reports, all different data reconciliation, and all different data moving, validation, and this kind of processes usually are taking quite a lot of time for the people to do that. And specifically for the, I would say, data reconciliation, this kind of processes are usually called as a batch process, that clients just received a huge list to process in several weeks. So here the process automation is really suitable to use it. One of the another, I would say, important things why process automation is useful. It's a scalable solution that provides you to reassign easily robots from one department to another, from one task to another. So if you compare, for example, we have like 20 people in HR, 20 in finance, someone in the customer service. To reassign them between, I would say, departments, you need to upskill basically people and learn quite a lot of things. For the robotics process automation, you just don't need that. You can just pull the robots on and use them and utilize them how much you want. And as I said, it's the main that you actually don't need to do that. Yeah, so my last slide is about saying that I will do some automation on Sonoma homepage. And so I will switch to the tool and show you up some small steps in the tool how we can actually automate something on your homepage. So I have created one of the, I would say, objects for automating specific application. And let's wait until it appears. Good. So this is the studio where we actually doing the development. So there's on the high level, I would say, 2 approaches how to do the development. As tool is built on the .NET framework, you can write a code. You can write a C# code to do the automation integration with the tools, but you can also do the user interface approach. And here, the main feature in the object is called application modeler, where we actually defining what type of application we want to automate. Here, there's 4 types on the high level to choose which application we want to automate. So basically starting with the defining if it's a Java, if it's a browser, or if it's a mainframe, the difference between them, it's what language it will use to interact with the application, what language it will read from the application. So basically it uses different APIs to work with that. So if we don't have any of this type, then we are using the Windows application. For example, SIP would go with the Windows application. Specifically for the SIP, we will need to turn on the active accessibility mode, and then Blue Prism will interact with that. For the example, I will show you some browser automation, as I said, with the Sonoma homepage. So I will use the starting up the new browser. It asks me, then I will use the Internet Explorer, and here I'll define the page where I want to go, and I will skip a lot of parameters. So as soon as I'm running the application, it creates I would say a tree of elements where we defining all the fields, all the buttons, all the basically elements of the application that we are aiming to automate. So here I will just make an example and show you how we can spy something from the home page. So we can see that the green mode is mode, which states that it's HTML mode. So basically what it's doing, it reads the context of the page. So basically it reads the HTML code of the browser. But if we, for example, switch it to the Windows API, we can see that it also reads the buttons of the browser. But for this example, I will just click, for example, on learning. As soon as we are doing that, we can see what it has been. Let me just name it learning button. So as soon as we have spied it, it remembers the full parameters from the specific element. So here it remembers the tag name, it remembers the path, it remembers the URL. So based on this, we can see what it has been remembered. So we can play around with the, I would say, parameters, make it dynamic. So if in case if the page has been changed, then we are not, I would say, specifically waiting that on the one place, but we can use it, I would say, in more dynamic way. And that's also one of the, I would say, difference between integration testing and test automations. So here we have created an element, and then we have the list of the tools what we can do with that element. So let's assume that we want to click on that button. So we need to use the navigate stage to navigate somewhere. So we're using that. We have the predefined, I would say, list of the elements that we have created here. So let's use that, drag and drop it. And then we have predefined list of the actions what we can do for this HTML element that is basically a button. So here I will use the, for example, click center and name it click learning. So as soon as we are connecting it, saving for the first time, we can run it. And now we can see that it went to the learning. So that's the pretty straightforward approach on how we are automating the application, building step-by-step flow, dividing that on different actions, and then building a process that could basically work with this. So from another point of view, what else we could do, for example, to interact with the Excels, we are using the specifically VB.NET, so Visual Basic.NET code for interacting this. As I said, we could use the C# or Visual Basic.NET, and basically 50 lines of code per action is something what we are using to get different actions with Excel. For this time, it will read, for example, all the information from the worksheet and get that as a table. So that's the way we are working. Yeah, and on the video you have seen the result flow, how it looks at the end. Any questions?
Yes, I have a few, but from the audience first, Falco.
You said that it learns. How is it learning?
So specifically the process automation that I'm showing right now, it's a rule-based automation. So it doesn't have any machine learning within that. So but if we're talking about these two tools that are over here, so both of them can learn, which means they have the machine learning approach within that, together with the big data. So basically, if we are talking specifically about Amelia, it builds a flow within the system, and every time, for example, how it integrates in the system. So when you're adding this on the first line support, it's able to ask, or I would say answer, the specific list of the questions as soon as I would say it doesn't know what to do. It listens the people, and they, based on what it listens, it builds a flow, and then person can accept if she remembers that or not correctly. So basically, it's able to recognize what people are saying.
Okay, but what you're showing us doesn't do that.
No, it's
Okay.
the
I
one
got
that I'm showing right now. The positive thing here that it's doing what you have set to do.
Just
So
mapping it out.
yes, just mapping.
Then does
and
it
following
stay
the rules.
brittle if like the
Sorry?
does it stay brittle? Like if the site changes, will this stop working?
Yeah, so here is the way how you can use the, for example, if you're using just the standard approach over here, we can see that it's basically hard-coded to the URL what you're having here. So what I would use it dynamically, which means that it does not detect the home page, it detects, for example, the path of it, or it looks for the button, or it looks for something else. So that's one of the things. Another thing that it has the exception handling within this, which means that if your application is, let's assume it hasn't loaded properly, so it can go back, it can go and restart an application, it could close it, it could kill it or whatever. So it have a lot of exception handling what you could do with it.
All right. Thank you.
Good.
Do I understand correctly that this type of processing is mainly used to do data entry into various types of user interfaces?
Yeah, it's one of the main how you're using that. So specifically, yes.
So then it's specifically comes in handy when there's no APIs to connect to or something,
Yeah.
or if you
so
don't want to
it's
program.
specifically user interface that allows you to navigate through that. But why usually the client basically why we're using this, because basically you have the results in 3-4 weeks that able to replicate the same steps, and then based on I would say automation approaches you can actually improve how you're using that. So it's one of the ways. Another way you can use the web services, you can interact through that layer as well. But typically clients are asking to replicate the same as employee are doing. So I would say there's a difference on the time, how much you need for the implementation.
Okay, thank you.
You're asking if this can help filling in the Excel budget, the budget sheets.
Give me the microphone. Now, I was wondering, can you also combine the tools? Because I can imagine that in some cases recording and playback is what you want, but
Yep.
in the process you have some decisions.
Yep.
So can you also combine those? So because then otherwise the flow will break at the point where you have a decision. Yeah, okay, but who's going to make the decision?
Yeah, so if I understood your question correctly, so first of all you have an exception handling that it will able to fix itself. But if you're talking if you can combine, for example, Amelia with this.
Yeah, or Watson, so
Yeah.
it can actually...
Yeah, one of the things that how Watson, for example, is used with not Amelia but a different virtual agent, the chatbot. IBM Watson is able to analyze a huge amount of data, and then chatbot is able to talk. So as soon as you're asking something, you're calling IBM Watson to analyze, thousands or millions of newspapers, and then provide a result with the chatbot. So you can combine that. And here, how the process automation is combined, if, for example, you have a BPM tool or something like that, it could call through the web service, make a request to the automation to do something, and produce the results, and then reply to the web service back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Please a round of applause for our speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for our